The Ukrainian army continues its counterattack operations on different fronts. In our previous reports, we shared with you the operation of the Ukrainian army against the Russian general. While the Ukrainian army harms the Russian army and commanders, it also carries out offensive operations against their headquarters. However, the Ukrainian army, which carries out sudden attacks on Russia's ammunition depots and supply points, wants to make it difficult for Russia to access ammunition. With the approach of the winter months, ammunition depots and military headquarters established for the shelter of soldiers on the front line are also very important. Ukraine is carrying out operations to identify and destroy these targets. The Ozillo news team continues to work to bring you reports on the latest developments. Finally, the Crimean Peninsula was shaken by the attack of the Ukrainian army. Ukraine continues to advance with great determination and strength to regain this strategic region under Russian occupation. After the news that a Russian headquarters was blown up in Crimea, the video of this explosion started to be shared on Telegram and social media accounts. The attack by the Ukrainian army was shared on all social media. Ukraine is determined to take back Crimea from the Russians. In the video, a video in which a missile is seen approaching in the sky and a voice says, "The rocket has passed," was watched by thousands of people. It was confirmed that Ukraine attacked the Russian headquarters in Crimea with long-range missiles. Another video shows huge smoke coming out of the explosion. The operations carried out by the Ukrainian army in Crimea and the positive results of these operations are very important for Ukraine. Russia illegally annexed Crimea in 2014, and Kyiv has repeatedly emphasized that recapturing the peninsula is one of its war aims. Local residents reported that the main command center of the Black Sea Fleet was damaged. There is no information about the dead, local sources reported. After the strong Ukrainian offensive, everyone thinks of Zelensky's words. Zelensky said, "The war started in Crimea and will end in Crimea." After Ukraine's operations in Crimea, we can understand how true Zelensky's words are and what Ukraine's real goal is. A prominent Twitter account providing information on Moscow's military activities.
Russian strikes, yes. Can we protect our cities from Russian missiles? Definitely.
Stated that a Russian military base north of Sevastopol was hit by Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Our geolocation team has confirmed that the missile strike destroyed a headquarters building of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, it said in the next post. However, Mikhail Razvozayev, the head of the Russian-controlled port city of Sevastopol, said Russian air defenses had successfully intercepted missiles and drones in Crimea. Information on possible damage and losses from falling fragments of downed missiles is being clarified. All operational services are working, he said. Ukrainian intelligence also made some statements and confirmed that missile strikes were carried out on the places of deployment of Russian equipment in occupied Crimea. However, further information on the results of the strikes has not yet been made public. Ukraine's attacks on Russian targets in and around Crimea are scaring the Kremlin. Ukraine's approach to Crimea and the destruction of Russian targets in Crimea is bringing Ukraine closer to Crimea every day. Every attack in and around this region is more important than attacks in other regions. Although Putin is trying to keep Ukraine away from Crimea, the Ukrainian army somehow organizes counterattack operations in the Crimea region and does not leave the Russians alone in that region. We have stated in our reports that the importance of Crimea and the Black Sea region in the war will increase day by day. This was once again proved by Ukraine's counterattack operations against targets in Crimea and the Black Sea region. The Russian army needs to supply fuel for the Black Sea Fleet in the Black Sea and transport this fuel to the Black Sea Fleet. For this reason, one of the most important points is the Russian city of Sochi. This city is strategically very important for the Russian army and the presence of the Russian army in the Black Sea and the Russian naval forces. Recently, the Ukrainian Air Force targeted the Russian naval forces in the port of Sevastopol in the east of the Crimean Peninsula. Before Russia could recover from the shock of this Ukrainian attack, The Ukrainian army targeted this region once again. The Ukrainian army had not attacked this region so frequently since the beginning of the war. This situation made Russia very uneasy. The attacks of the Ukrainian army, which have a very strong destructive effect, scared Russia. After the attack on the port of Sevastopol, the Ukrainian army targeted a very important point in the city of Sochi, dealing a heavy blow to the Russian naval forces. Unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian Air Force targeted a warehouse near the port of Sochi. This region was a very critical region for Russia, because there was also an airport near this region. It was confirmed that the oil depot targeted in the operation carried out by Ukrainian drones was very close to the port of Sochi. However, there was also an airport very close to the targeted area. Ukraine destroyed the oil depot in this critical area. After Ukraine's powerful attack, a huge explosion occurred in the oil depot. A huge fire broke out in the destroyed depot and a huge cloud of smoke covered the entire city. This smoke was recorded on video by local people and shared on social media. However, according to the claims of local people, the explosion was heard throughout the city. The explosion caused panic and fear in the region. The Ukrainian military does not claim responsibility for the explosions and offensive operations that took place in Russia. Ukraine does not claim responsibility for strong attacks in any region of Russia and does not make any statements on the subject. There was no statement from Ukraine regarding this attack. But of course we think that Ukraine carried out this attack, because we know that Ukraine knows the region very well and analyzes this region. An attack on such an important region for Russia is a situation that Ukraine would want the most. We can understand that Ukraine wants to gain an advantage for the continuation of the war by organizing offensive operations against strategically important regions for Russia, instead of positions where dozens of Russian soldiers are located. With these attacks, the Ukrainian army has dealt a heavy blow to Russia. The attack on the Russian headquarters. The attacks in and around the Sochi region show how serious and determined Ukraine is. The destruction of important targets such as oil depots and military headquarters once again showed Ukraine's power in and around Crimea. The Kremlin is very afraid of surrendering the sovereignty in this region to Ukraine. Different developments may take place in these regions in the coming days. Do you think the Ukrainian army will increase the number of operations in and around Crimea? Do you think Ukraine has the power to take Crimea from Russia? What do you think about the attacks on critical targets belonging to Russia in Sochi? You can share your thoughts with us by commenting.